Welcome back to Golf Extra. News recently came down which shocked everyone in the golf world, from the most casual fan to the biggest stars. The PGA Tour and LIV Golf announced a merger. This news comes following a year of turbulent conflict between the two groups, and it isn't fully supported by everyone in the sport. In fact, some of the reaction from PGA players has been downright hostile. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Now let's get right into what players had to say about PGA Commissioner Jay Monahan following the LIV PGA merger. Ever since LIV Golf fractured the golf world by creating a rival organization to the PGA Tour, the rhetoric between the two players has been extremely contentious. For example, at the 2022 RBC Canadian Open, Monahan was questioned by a reporter regarding his thoughts about LIV and its Saudi Arabian backers' connection to the tragic 9/11 attacks, and had a terse response. "I think you'd have to be living under a rock not to know there are significant implications. I would ask any player who has left or any player who would consider leaving, have you ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour?" Given this level of animosity, along with the smattering of lawsuits that has circulated back and forth between LIV and PGA, it seemed unlikely that there would be any sort of resolution. Given this, it came as a complete shock that the PGA Tour decided to merge with LIV Golf on June 6th. PGA Commissioner Jay Monahan commented in an official statement, "We are pleased to move forward in step with LIV and PIF's world-class investing experience, and I applaud PIF Governor Yasser Al-Rumayyan for his vision and collaborative and forward-thinking approach that is not just the solution to the rift in our game, but also a commitment to taking it to new heights. This will engender a new era in global golf for the better." The news came as a surprise to virtually every player on both the PGA Tour and in LIV Golf. Given that the announcement of the merger coincided with this year's RBC Canadian Open, all of the PGA players were gathered at Oakdale Golf and Country Club in Toronto. The mood was very different from last year's event when Monahan made his comments about the Saudi government. This time, a meeting between the PGA players and the Saudi government became what one anonymous player described as the most animated meeting in the history of the PGA Tour. There weren't many details that came out of the meeting, with many of the players being unwilling to comment. However, a couple of players did share their thoughts, namely, longtime Australian pro Geoff Ogilvy said about what happened at the meeting. Monahan just sort of explained the structure, how it's going to look going forward. He didn't really talk specifics. It was a tough meeting for both sides, for Jay and all the players, because nobody really knows what this is going to look like in the end. He added, regarding the reaction of the players in the meeting, "There's some grumpy players in there. Feel a little bit sort of not lied to, but that the tour sort of changed its position kind of quickly. Maybe there's a feeling of a little bit of trust in the leadership." Most notably, Ogilvy said that a couple players even went so far as to comment that the PGA Tour players even called Monahan a hypocrite, saying, "It was mentioned, yeah, and he took it. He said, yeah, he took it for sure." That's harsh. But fellow PGA Tour golfer Johnson Wagner took it even further, saying about the meeting, "It was contentious. There were many moments where certain players were calling for new leadership of the PGA Tour and even got a couple standing ovations." Standing ovations for a resignation? Okay, they're really not happy. Wagner went further, saying that the reaction in the meeting was 90% negative from the players. He also mentioned a notable point, saying, "The most powerful moment was when a player quoted Commissioner Monahan from the 3M Open in Minnesota last year when he said, 'As long as I'm commissioner of the PGA Tour, no player that took LIV money will ever play the PGA Tour again.' It just seems like a lot of backtracking." Wagner continued, saying, "Players were mad. Players were calling for his resignation, and Jay sat there and took it like a champ. He really did. He didn't specifically answer a lot of questions of what the path would be like for LIV players coming in the season of 24. He kind of left it up to his discretion. So a lot of players didn't like that. Not telling them about the merger is one thing, but not giving the players any direction on what will be next for their careers in the wake of the shocking decision, that's even more troubling." Other players commented on the change on Twitter, with PGA Tour golfer Dylan Wu messaging, "Tell me why Jay Monahan basically got a promotion to CEO of all golf in the world by going back on everything he said the past 2 years. The hypocrisy. Wish golf worked like that. I guess money always wins at PGA Tour." For what it's worth, Monahan did say in a news conference that he wasn't surprised by the negative reaction. He even said that he was ready to be called a hypocrite, but stood by his decision, saying, "I recognize everything that I've said in the past and my prior positions. I recognize that people are going to call me a hypocrite. Anytime I said anything, I said it with the information that I had at the moment. And as I said it based on someone that's trying to compete for the PGA Tour and our players. I accept those criticisms, but circumstances do change. I think that in looking at the big picture and looking at it this way, that's what got us to this point. As far as how the players were notified, PGA Tour golfer Adam Hadwin said, "We were given an email I read through. We also got an email with comments from Jay Monahan regarding it. I don't know. I'll be honest. I think that what's transpired over the last year and a half at the rhetoric not only on this side, but on that side as well, I think it's difficult to look at that and say, how did we get here? For a lot of players, it seems like the secrecy around the merger is perhaps the biggest issue. After all, given how much loyalty was expected of them, the least that the PGA Tour players could expect in return is full disclosure. About the decision to keep things close to the vest, Monahan said, "When you get into these conversations and given the complexity of what we're dealing with, it's not uncommon that the circle of information is very tight. In our case, we kept that information very tight. The fact of the matter is that this was a shock to a lot of people because we were not in a position to share or explain, as we normally would. And that was really a result of the commitment we had made to maintaining confidentiality through the end." In particular, Monahan was criticized for not getting the input of or even informing Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, the tour's most prominent players. On this point, Monahan deflected, saying, "Tiger and Rory's perspective is one that I understand very well, and it will be a part of my thinking going forward." Monahan finished by saying that he understood players' frustration, but that he still felt it was the right move. Obviously, it's been a very dynamic and complex couple of years, and for players, I'm not surprised. This is an awful lot to ask them to digest, and this is a significant change for us in the direction that we were going down. There was no significant comment on the first day of the decision from the LIV players aside from several tweets, but they're not quite in the clear. As Barstool sports reporter Dan Rappaport tweeted on the day of the decision, "I'm told the guys who took the LIV money and want to return to the PGA Tour will definitely pay a fine. Won't be equal for every player either. Will that be enough to assuage guys who are pissed they turned down $100 million to stay loyal, only for the two to merge? This decision certainly has ramifications across the spectrum. Only time will tell who the winners and losers will be. For now, Jay Monahan is definitely in some hot water, and it seems unlikely that he'll keep his job for long." So, what do you think about the PGA Tour players' response to the LIV PGA merger? Do you think that Jay Monahan should resign? Are you happy about the merger? Or do you think it's a bad idea? Be sure to leave us a comment with what you think down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you can watch our latest content updates as soon as they drop. We'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.